Thank you all for joining us tonight. And thank you to Chris, I don't know if you can hear us, but for hosting here. I see a lot of familiar faces. We did one of these about a year ago, I think, and we really tried to cater it to Ward 1 and just some concerns and some things that were going on in the ward at that time. But I think today we're going to kind of do like kind of an all-encompassing thing. We're going to talk about tourism and kind of just answer any and all questions you might have. If you've been to one of these events that with myself, you know that I don't like to get up here and talk at you. I don't feel like you all came here to listen to me talk at you. I want you to drive the conversation and let us know. I want to hear what you want to talk about. That's what we're here to do. I think that's the idea of these events, is to let you drive the conversation. Anything and everything city related, of course, is on the table. So we look forward to answering some questions, having some good dialogue, and come out of here ready to go, I guess, moving forward. But that's like my spiel, and I'll let Aaron.
Yeah, I think we've got a little bit different spiels because, I don't know, I like to whet people's appetite. And I like to be transparent and kind of talk about like how I've approached this. So, you know, like a year ago, I was probably 8 months in, and it was really just a look and listen sort of point where I was at. You know, I'm gathering information, I'm meeting with the business owners, I'm trying to decide where to plant my foot. And, you know, now it's been time that I've planted my foot, and I kind of want to just give you the overarching, all-encompassing sort of way that I'm approaching things and where that's kind of funneled me. So I came up just kind of, you know, in my position, these 4 questions that need answering when you're a tourism director. And one, the main question is, how do we entice people to visit, right? How are we going to get people here? Who's our competition? Do you see it like that? You know, there's all these different things, but yeah, how do we entice people to visit? That's the thing, and that leads to a bunch of different questions. One being, how do we make it easy for them to plan a trip? You know, how do we get all of that information out there? How do we collect all of our assets, and then how do we present that? Where are these visitors going to come from? You know, looking at the assets that we do have, what's the most likely place that people are going to come from? And then how do we keep them coming back? And if not, how do we get them to recommend us to their friends? Because, you know, I don't care what century you're in, but word of mouth marketing is always the best, you know, and you're going to get people that are all dialed in whenever they come. So breaking those down, you know, how do these questions kind of lead me to the sort of actions that I've taken? And being a one-man tourism department, for the most part, there's only so thin that you can spread yourself. And what's interesting is there's certain times where I have to really get tunnel vision on a problem, and it makes you lose sight of the the overarching goals, at least for a time being. And then when you zoom back out, you're like, oh, well, I've got to catch up here. And, you know, you plant all these different seeds and everything starts sprouting. And then you're like, oh, I've got to water this, I've got to run over here. And how do you spread yourself? And how do you also use the budget that you have to get the help that you need, you know? We have 4 people in my department. I'm the only full-time person. We have 2 women that work at the Welcome Center part-time. And then my content coordinator, Eve, and she does just all of the social media stuff that you guys see. And I help a lot with that as well. So a lot of the video creation. It is tough to create content all the time. It's something else, but we're doing it. We're making it work. So that first question, how do we entice people to visit? It's about the storytelling, right? It's about really understanding what St. John is and what are the hooks that are going to grab people, right? And that kind of started, and there's some other reasons why we did the rebrand of St. John, mostly because we had state money, first of all. Second, we had a marketing plan created by McDaniels Marketing right when I got into the position. And so following that marketing plan, the first thing on the docket was a rebrand. But I think it was perfect because it we got a professional company out of St. Louis to help us with that. And it really lets you know, just kind of, it's the basis of your storytelling. It's compiling everything and putting 3 colors in a font behind, like condensing everything about St. John into 3 colors in a font. And then you take that and you use that as the basis to really tell your story. And it's a very esoteric, interesting thing. And for those of you who came to the brand reveal, I hope you guys got to see all the work and interesting thought that went behind that. But that was really fun. And then me walking through that process, I learned a ton. I learned how to steward that brand, and I was basically at the base of that. So storytelling, that's how we're going to get people here. How do we make it easy for them to plan a trip? This is more infrastructural stuff. So how advertising works or how marketing works, just point blank, and I'm simplifying it as much as possible. You place an ad, you spend money on an ad for the most part. That ad, you have one call to action because you only have so much space and so much of people's attention needs to be hyper-focused. Where are you sending these people? Well, you're going to send people to the website. Does the website help people convert to a trip, right? That's your 3 things right there. And in my first year, I decided that no, our website was not working. So we had some money in the coffers to work with Visit Widget to create an app for St. John. But I was able to parlay that because I waited later in the year. I was able to use that money partially to build the app with St. Genevieve, but then to actually redo our website completely with that money. So I was able to get a huge value, and we got an app out of it. The problem is those, as people who have interacted with the website and things like that, it's still a work in progress. So a lot of that stuff still has to be built out as far as, again, the storytelling part of it. A lot of it is when you think of all the time that it goes, especially for every business and how do all of our facets fit together? How do, we have 4 different organizations that run our historic houses. How do those stories fit together? That's just our history part of it. What about the art history? What about the shops? What about, there's just all these different, what about the county, and the wineries and that story. And so there's all these little interlocking, faceted things that we're still working out there. So I think I got a question earlier about how that is going to, like what are the things that we need to do to fix those? Well, we're just going to keep going on that course, and over the course of time, we're going to the website and everything's going to start coming together. Question 3: where are visitors going to come from? Well, I think St. Genevieve is uniquely situated in that we're competing with the St. Charles and the Hermans in Missouri, but we're in a class of our own with the things that we have to offer, especially in history, especially with the wineries and the sort of outdoor activities. I think we are poised to be a national and international destination, so I'm going to cast that net in a strategic way. So with, I've got this all written down, for like overnight markets, 3 to 4 hours away. We're using the MMG, which is a matching grant with the state. So we put in $30,000, the state puts in $30,000. That's how we're going to get these overnight markets like Kansas City, Nashville, Memphis. And this is all part of our marketing plan, and McDaniels handles that part of it. St. Louis, I think, is kind of your gateway for your national guests because you have the airport there. It's also a great hub for just guests in general and overnight markets. So I'm kind of going to use St. Louis to be the hub for national and this sort of like local overnight market. And then with the international travelers, the state gives us a grant, basically, or a stipend for this thing called Travel South. It's an organization where we go to these conferences and we get to pitch our destinations to international travelers. And we've gotten a lot of interest from people from France and Quebec. So and then building out itineraries for those people and stuff like that, and then using those itineraries again for these other markets would be interesting. And then fourth, how do we keep people coming back and recommending us? And that goes into how we tell our story, but also how we deliver on what we promise. So we're in an interesting, we have an interesting chicken egg problem here, right? There's not enough tourists, so the businesses don't stay open. So there's not enough tourists, so the businesses don't stay open, and it kind of feeds itself. And so how do you promise, you know, I think what our promise has been in the past is, you know, come shop in St. John. It's really exciting, and it's like, well, I don't think we can really deliver on that promise because, you know, people talk about people getting here and going, oh, the businesses aren't open, oh, and I'm disappointed. We've got to promise something a little bit different, and so what I've been kind of leaning into is just the fact that, you know, if you live a busy life, you can come and decompress in St. John, you know, come get in your little hotel room above one of the shops on the quiet little street. Come here and decompress, walk around, dig deeper, look at what's special that's here. You know, and I think we can deliver on that promise. And then when we deliver on that promise, you know, we will get more visitors. And then once we get more visitors, we can set up a new promise that we can deliver on. And that's all part of the branding, right? Is like, you know, you set your brand up on something that you can deliver on, and when you deliver well on that, your brand kind of evolves to deliver something else. You know, when people are like, well, yeah, I want to open up a shop here too, and all of our shops are full and everybody's open till 9 o'clock, you know, then we can start promising something different. But we've got to start somewhere and building from there. So anyway, that's been my approach and kind of squishing things down and taking, you know, making bite-sized chunks that I can actually make progress on. And so with that, I will open it.
Question time?
Yeah, question time.
Let's open up the floor. Let's get to what y'all can. Yes, I have a question.
My name's Ernie. Hello, everybody. So I talk to a lot of tourists when I'm working around town, or I talk to tourists when they come into Christmas shop. And the biggest thing that they complain about is they don't know the hours that the shops are open before they plan on coming down. So if there's a way to have the links of the shops on the city website or the tourist website, so they can say, oh, this one's going to be open then, they can plan their trip accordingly. That's been the biggest complaint.
Yeah, and I think...
Assuming everything's open on Monday. Monday's a big one. I don't know if you guys... Monday is huge.
No, I agree with that. I've heard with some other shoppers or other store owners that not being open Monday, with everyone shut down, that it kind of just stops the town for a day. And I get that fact with who I've spoken to about this topic, and having things not necessarily just closed all day on Mondays, you know, you downtown, everything's closed. So I agree with what you're saying too.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting because I get those sort of things, and like, you know, I think maybe we could build up to some sort of incentives to keep people open, but I think, you know, right now, you know, you can't, I wouldn't in good conscience tell people to be open if they just physically can. I mean, a lot of people are just single shop owners, but I'll tell you what we are doing as far as like from the website standpoint is, again, this is kind of, I just hired somebody that's going to help me populate this sort of stuff. But if you go on under, I guess, the like dining options right now, you'll see that a lot of the photographs have been updated. And then when you look at it, like the little card, so if you go to bars and grills and you scroll down and you see all the different restaurants, all of the hours have been updated. So it will even say open now or closed right now or something like that. So we're just, a lot of the data that has to be entered in the back end to just getting all these hours straightened out, and you know there's a bunch of businesses, but we're doing it little by little. So yes, so that will be a thing that is updated.
It's the biggest complaint that I ever hear when I talk to a lot of people when I'm working outside. Biggest complaint.
And I don't currently own a shop, my name's Philip Nagger, but I'll be opening a pottery studio, gallery workshop, everything else in that. But like I said, with noticing people and what they've said, Mondays being a kind of a complaint about things. And I know, like you said, people work a hard weekend, or get a busy weekend, and the shop owners don't want to, they want a day off, you know, they want to be open the rest of the week. You can't blame them for that. But yes, I'm not disagreeing with those folks that don't want to be open on Monday, but I do agree with the gentleman said about Monday being
Yeah,
an issue with some folks.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, when I open my shop and I have a heavy weekend, you know, I'm also going to be working another part-time job because I don't think pottery is going to take up and make me, you know, $1,000 a week. And if it does, so be it. But, you know, I still got to make a living, and everyone else has to have their downtime in order to be a participant in, you know, enthusiastic about being open throughout the week too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So what days are the busiest days, tourist-wise?
Tourist wise Saturdays.
Yeah, well,
Far and away.
No.
I mean, it just kind of crescendos, so like it's basically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are
Yeah,
flat, but
yeah, because the Sycamore, we're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and Saturday is the one biggie, and the others, yeah.
yeah.
I've been getting almost no one on Mondays. We've been open. Almost no one.
Yeah,
So you
that's
said
my big idea.
There you go, it's interesting, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
you know, you have people saying, well, the people that are upset that things aren't open Monday, and then, but you know, as a shop owner, you don't see anybody, so it's like, that's where the disconnect is coming, you know, so,
Well, Monday, you certainly see more people than you do on Tuesday and Wednesday.
yeah.
The folks who made a weekend of it,
And Monday's their day out, you know, they're not necessarily leaving Monday at 7, you know, they're possibly leaving it Sunday at 1. Or
Right.
Monday at 1. And I've noticed just when I'm in town visiting, now I'm permanently living back in town now. I've lived outside of town for 20 years, but I'm back. And noticing just when I'm up Monday, you know, restaurants are closed, going downtown, Sears is the only place that is open. You know, not necessarily any bar needs to be open, but just other restaurants. And I get, you know, they want to close down. I understand that part, but you still see people walking around.
Yeah.
You know, before they hit the road, you know.
How long, oh, excuse me,
Go ahead, Janice.
how long are we talking about on the website? Before it's like done?
That's a good question. So, you know, like, I hate to like be like that, but you know, some of this is me realizing how much extra work it is, right? And this is coming from like, I can't just be spending all my time on the website. So it's like, you know, I'm plugging away on stuff. I'm like, man, I'm getting nowhere. So like I said, I just hired I front loaded a ton of our budget for our web designers that we have, so they can do a lot more this coming year, and that'll be more of the heavy stuff, like, we need this redesigned because it doesn't work. Like right now, our history section, it needs to be completely turned over, like but that's another thing you gotta figure out how, like, what would serve it best, you know what I mean? So there's part of it that's kind of like I don't quite know how this has worked, so I kick the can down the road, but as far as like getting all of the businesses updated, and one of the things that we're doing this year, so we get another grant from the state. It's called Marketing Program Development, and it's a $20,000 grant. And I'm this year it's asset procurement, so photos and videos for the town. And I'm just going to pay Neve to go out and get every Airbnb, every little hotel. She's going to go and take photos for everybody because we want to revamp the website. We want everything to look super consistent. And while we're uploading those pictures, like I just redid Silver Sycamore's photos with the photos that we took for, and then that way I was able to go in and change your hours and stuff like that. But I've just hired another guy to help me do all of that extra work. So I don't know how fast he's going to work. He's only on like a $200 a month retainer, but he's going to be able to help chip away at that sort of stuff.
Closer to a year or 10 years?
Yeah, right. I'm hoping 2 years it'll be like good to go. And hopefully more workable than not. And what's crazy is we're getting a ton of engagement. So people like the website, I've got some numbers here from our webmaster. Every month we sit down and he kind of goes over the numbers, but compared to last year, or just our engagement rate, it means like when people get on our website, do they navigate to a different page? Do they follow the information correctly? We're at like a 99.6% engagement rate. So when people get on the website, they go to other places, they're finding the information that they need. So that's good. And the website just in general, because of the marketing that we're doing through McDaniels and the other stuff that I'm doing, I think we're up 120% of visitation to the website, which means more than double, right? So it's good. And like I said, what I want is for people, basically all I'm focusing on outside of telling our story and working on like the sort of storytelling parts are like, can people see when these businesses are open? Can they just one click call them? Oh, they're open, call. That's what we want, conversion. We want people to just, to take any of the frustration away. And our last website had a ton of frustration. And I wouldn't be surprised if people were like, I will never deal with St. John again just by going to our website. Like, they probably went there and were like, nope, I can't get anything done. These people aren't serious, you know what I mean? So I think we fixed that problem. So I'm not trying to paint the website as like, it's fixed, but there's certain parts of the storytelling. I think, Chris, you had a couple of visitors from England, and this is a success story for me. It's a little anecdotal story, but Chris said she had a couple from England. They were traveling through the United States. They had a one-off day, and they were choosing between us and somebody else, and they said our website and like the storytelling part of it made them come here. So that's great, even if it's just one couple, and I'm hoping that sort of builds upon itself. And again, hopefully that they saw what was in that storytelling here, and they go back and they're like, hey, you guys got to go see this little town. So yeah, it's still a work in progress, but it's not like it's not working for us already. It's already kind of working for us.
And with that last statement, like, I know I'm younger, I'm only 30, but a lot of the younger folks still go off of internet-based stuff. But if I'm able to call somebody and ask questions, that means more to me than just looking at a website and trying to read stuff. So I have friends and I know people along the line of similar age groups that are still in touch with that kind of communication and stuff like that. So it's a good statement to have.
Well, and our last website didn't even have links.
Well, yeah, so what you gotta have
to other
too,
people's
yeah.
websites and to their phone numbers. It was like, you would just be like, okay, yeah, Lavender Moon. Lavender Moon's been open for 7 years. Okay. Oh, so I have to leave this website, get on my phone, type in Lavender Moon St. John, and have a whole, that's too much for people. Americans worship at the altar of convenience, and that's just how it is. So we've got to take all that frustration down. We are, and so bear with. I know you've been a little bit disappointed with, but you've seen Silver Sycamore there, and I just redid the Art Guild one, and I went in and took photos and everything. So yeah, so don't worry about being a squeaky wheel either, or even being disgruntled, or not that you were disgruntled, but if you're frustrated about something, reach out to me. I will address it. It takes me a long circuitous route sometimes to get there, but I will address it for sure. So
do you think the website is the complete way to advertise this town? Because you mentioned the shops close up fairly early, which that's normal. But where does it say about the music venues that go on at night? And there's this music almost every couple of blocks here, and they're Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, and it's like there's a lot of people might plan more if they knew, well, during the day we're going to do this, we're going to go eat, we're going to go to the shops, and at night we'll do the music venues. But yeah. It's like there's no advertisement other than the website, except for local shop owners putting their stuff on. But if you don't know where to look on the web, you'll miss it.
Well, yeah, no, and that is true. I mean, and even some of the stuff. So, with the city, we've been booking acts for the Oris and using Facebook to really drive that sort of visibility. And that's another thing that we're figuring out with the website. Like, we were going to do some advertisements just for, the music at the Oris, and that is a good venue to like start driving economic activity, right? So, we put this little ad out, and it's like, well, where do we send them to? Because if you send them to our website right now, like, we don't quite have the page built out, and when you get to the page, there's no calendar of events that people can go to. It'd be nice if the Oris had that, but, if we have to do that through our own page. So we do have a calendar of events, and we're thinking about just moving that over to the Oris page and to the Midnight Slip when we create that page. So a lot of stuff too just needs to be created, and it's on a backlog of things that are going on. And right now too, we're missing out a ton of marketing with just not having up-to-date brochures. And when people come to town, our Welcome Center ladies hand out 50 different pieces of paper and individual maps for everything, and you're going, it's, in the end of the day, people with so much information that they just give up. And so right now I'm creating maps. I'm taking this map and mushing it into this map and trying to condense it down to at least just 3 maps that we can stick in a brochure and kind of tell the story of the town. And when people come in, we go, here's your brochure. It's got everything that you could possibly want in it. And so I'm working on that simultaneously, which I guess I could hire somebody from that, but I haven't found anybody that I really trust.
It's a shame you can't advertise or put brochures somewhere else, because in order to get a brochure, you gotta come to town. But
no, we send them out to all kinds of different towns. Like every Welcome Center carries our brochures.
okay, welcome
stuff like
centers,
that.
but you gotta go in place.
Well, and hotels, we send them to hotels and things like that as well. So no, we get our stuff out there. And we have a company that puts us in visitor centers and hotels in all the major cities and stuff like that. So no, we have that. That's something that we've been doing for a long time. It's the TTC, the Tourism Tax Commission, does that.
Well, then, not everyone's gonna pick up a brochure, If they're sitting in there at the Welcome Center or wherever it is, hotel, or the bar at the hotel or the restaurant, and they have those TVs that constantly spread out different companies, different things going on, if there was just a big thing. And I'm sure there are places where that might come up with our information. But just as far as displaying on a screen, just as it rotates through, like a slideshow of different things around, like that in the areas.
For that sort of
would
stuff,
be more cued to a younger eyes.
yeah. Well, and for that, I created a commercial this year that we've been showing all
good.
the Welcome
Cool.
Centers
Sweet.
and stuff like that. So yeah, we've had
Yeah, right there with it then. Yeah.
a commercial going with that.
Oh, wait a minute.
So, as you probably know, I'm sure you know as mayor and tourism director, that our county detention center is currently functioning also as an ICE detention center. And we currently have 111 ICE detainees there. I happen to know for a fact that these ICE detainees don't have any criminal charges. Okay, so I want to clear that up. I have a question for both of you. As the mayor, are you supportive of this initiative to detain immigrants who don't have charges? And then as a tourism director, how does this fit into the story of St. Genevieve that we're talking about here? We have a new mural under the railroad trestle with welcome in all these different languages. And it's ironic because we currently have people here that are from Guatemala, Brazil, Honduras, China, Indonesia. Unfortunately, they're all being held without due process. So I want to give you the chance to go on the record for this, since you're an elected official. And Aaron, I wanted you to explain your views on it and how, as you may know, St. Genevieve was recently featured on STLPR.
Oh,
Not because we're a quaint, picturesque tourist destination, but because we're housing ICE detainees. So how does that fit into our marketing strategy? And looking down the road, this may very well become a bigger story than it is right now.
So, with them being held at a county facility, that is not part of our purview. I have no influence, I have no say in how that operates.
Right.
So that question's probably better asked to either the county commissioner.
Well, the question is, are you supportive of it as an elected official?
I don't know all the factors that are determine how they ended up at our facility, at the county facility. So without knowing anything about why they're here, how that relationship came to
You don't watch the news?
pass.
You don't watch the news?
I do watch the news, but I don't know why
So
they're
you
here.
know that everybody's just getting swept up and taken into, like,
Yeah, I mean,
for lack of better terms,
yeah,
concentration camps.
I get it. That's kind of outside of the purview of what we're here to talk about tonight. I'm not going to comment on it. Like I mentioned, if you want to have a conversation with the county about that, I mean, that would be your first place to go as to why that's happening and why they're here at our facility.
We just thought as the mayor, you might want to go on the record as your personal.
Not on that. I mean, I approach this job apolitically, so I'm not gonna.
This is not a political, this should not be a political.
Well, I agree. It's a
Human
more-
rights,
yeah.
human rights.
Even still, it's not something I'm gonna comment on.
Okay.
Yeah, and, you know, like I hate to kick emotional things like this down the road too, or look like I'm saying some sort of non-answer or anything like that, but, I don't know, it's one of those things that, you know, if it paints St. Jen in a negative light, it's, you know, it's something that we have to deal with, and you know, it is part of the story. So, I don't know, you know what I mean? And like I said, it's just something that we'll have to deal with. You know, I hate to just kind of.
And I don't mean to put you both on the spot, but I don't want to also just pretend like it's not happening. And so if
I
it can
think
be
that's the
something
big
that
thing,
we're
yeah.
able to talk about instead of it being like, does anybody even know? And so I'm just trying to bring it out in the open so that it is something that we can talk about as a community.
Sure. I mean, if we're gonna talk about things, I mean, I think you can talk about the work that I think there's some members of the community doing to help. I think there's some people that have formed organizations to try to help assist at, you know, when and how they can.
Yeah.
Those are success stories I think we can all talk about and get behind. You know, I understand, I'm not trying to dismiss your question. That's not the point. And I don't want you to feel that way. It's just it's not something I came here to comment on. As I mentioned, I kind of approached this job as you know, not that it doesn't impact St. Jan or involve St. Jan. It certainly does. But as somebody who doesn't have all of the information as to why they're here, you know, as far as them being within the county or being held locally, I know that the sheriff's office has a relationship through I want to say through the federal court system where they house detainees or inmates or whatever they may
Federal
be
inmates,
for
yeah.
periods of time while they await either a court date or sentencing or whatever it may be. I assume that this may go hand in hand with that relationship, but you know, as I mentioned, I don't have all the information, and I don't want to speak on something that I'm just not fully educated on as far as
I
the
do
reasons why.
Yeah, and I just do hope that if nothing else, by me bringing it up, that maybe you will look into a little bit more and think of it from kind of a marketing perspective or how it might reflect on our values as a community. And that's all I'm asking.
No, absolutely, and I think if you talk to anybody that's, you know, within this community, I've always said this to people that outside of the community that ask me about it, and I said, this community by and large would give anything to anybody at any time. They protect their own and they rally behind people that need it. And so if we're going to talk about success, I mean, like I mentioned, you know, I know there's some organizations that are trying to assist there, whether it's providing assistance in getting them funds to call home or to purchase items that they may need while they're detained. I know that there's a lot of that going on, and that speaks to what this community is. I think it speaks to what I've seen throughout the, my time here, is that if there's somebody that needs help, we're here to help them. And I think if I was gonna focus on a message that's coming out of this, that's what I would focus on. I know that, some may look at that as ignoring the bigger problem, but, we, as far as I know, nobody's locally put those people in that detention center. I mean, that's not an active pursuit that, either the city or the county are taking. I think it may just be, they may just be here because they have nowhere else for them to go.
They're mainly coming from St. Louis and Kansas City.
Yeah, it's been my understanding of the relationship previously as to how, people ended up at our jail as opposed to.
Right, but those are federal inmates. This is it really is a different group of people that really don't have any charges. And I hope everybody educates themselves on this. There's 111 people over there without any criminal charges. I mean, most of them don't even have a traffic ticket.
Mm-hmm.
That's heartbreaking. Their mothers, grandmothers.
Don't disagree. I don't disagree. And I know that this is a very divisive issue right now in some capacity, but like I said, I appreciate you bringing it up. And I think, we're using this forum to talk about things within the community, and this is, like I mentioned, it's as good a forum to at least get a message out. I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's,
And I will recognize that there's a lot of pain going on behind closed doors, and it is being shut away and not talked about, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's important that we realize that these are just a few of these in Missouri. There's not a whole lot of places where they can detain these people, and we are one of a few. I'm gonna say 3 maybe.
Yeah.
So that's special. We're real special.
next, Chris?
Well, I have something totally different on tourism. So I noticed that mostly during the week, we get mostly retirees because those are the only ones that are available during the week most of the time. Is there a way to start like targeting like certain groups, like to come here, like whatever, it's a church group or a group that's here for the national park and hey, go to shops. We will be open if we know that there's a certain day that a group is coming.
Yeah, and I think, again, part of that, like stretching the budget, the state offers a ton of incredible scholarships and grants and things like that. And one of the scholarships they offer is for the American Bus Association to attract bus tours. Right, this year it's being held in Philadelphia, so I didn't think that would be like great to go out there and, like, hey, you guys want to come all the way to Missouri? But the next time it's held in the Midwest, I will be going to that. And, I didn't come in with a lot of those like relationships, so it's one of those things that I'll have to just build over time. But like I said, what I hope you guys see that I'm doing is I'm starting really from the top and kind of going in and taking care of the big issues first. You know what I mean? Like, can people comfortably book a trip to St. John? Is that process hard? It has been, yes. Since I kind of shared, I'm going, yeah, we need to fix these kind of like bigger things first. And then, once that's kind of done and packed away, then we can do, as we take care of the bigger issues, I can collapse into the smaller things that, once that ABA conference comes back to the Midwest or gets us within striking distance of some good bus tours, then I will be there for sure.
Kind of continuing on in that vein, Aaron, is there, I've lived all my life, I'm not sure how many of us have, but as a kid and teenager and through several of those years, we would see buses. There were usually tour buses coming into town on a regular basis every week. Is there a way, and I don't know how to do it, but is there a way of contacting, and maybe that's what you were saying, if it's coming into the Midwest, but before a whole conference comes into the Midwest, is there a way of contacting the different tour bus companies who do? Because I know there's buses who go to the wineries, there's buses that go to Herman, to the Worst House, and then some other, there's buses who go to the different places in the Midwest. Is there a way to contact them, or is that?
I'm sure there is. Again, it's just like I didn't come in with those relationships, and so finding, like, going out and, especially with the stuff that I'm doing on a daily basis, it's like I've got a backlog of things that I'm chipping away out. So kind of the not low-hanging fruit is going and searching for these single sort of bus tours, when it would be easier if I could go to the American Bus Association and mix and mingle with 5 or 6 different bus tours, because, you know, what happens is, you know, you spend all this, you know, a week's time trying to, like, find the right person, and then reaching out to them, and then they don't get back to you, and then, you know what I mean? There's just like what's going to be the biggest bang for the buck. And yes, I probably could be digging a little bit deeper on that, but again, I think starting big and going into the smaller things right now. So
Talk about French Heritage out of Chicago, because you had that group come in.
yeah, right.
A large group, and I know you've leveraged that connection a few times.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Chicago French Heritage Society, their president also has the French Heritage Corridor, and they had their annual conference at WashU, and then took a day trip down here to St. Genevieve, and I cooked a big meal for them, and kind of, you know, worked with some different partners to, and John, you were there for that. Didn't you do, show them the Lala Mandir? And so, yeah, so that, you know, and when I get direct connections, there are people that contact me and go, hey, we're bringing in a church group, we're doing this. So there are people that are reaching out, and then I you know, help facilitate. So I facilitated a number of bus tours, but as far as like going out and getting that bulk and getting us back to being a weekly destination for those bus tours, I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to facilitate what comes across my desk. Which, yeah, no, there's been a ton of
Can you do like an e-blast to all the downtown merchants when, you know, so-and-so's gonna be here?
That would be smart. Yeah, absolutely. No, I should do that. Yeah, I can put that on
So that
my.
kind of connects with, I think, what Christine was saying, that if we know, if there's days that, because there's a lot of businesses, most of them aren't open every day, and you try to hit the days when, on an average, most tourists are going to be in town, but you certainly, I know most of us would definitely want to be open if there are going to be
Yeah.
groups coming in.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, so that's one thing that I am really hoping for, because that they come into town, there's a lot of people, and a lot of times we were just saying seniors during the week, because then they have places to go that the restaurants, the shops, it's pretty easy to walk pretty much all the downtown area
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
get to them and get to the businesses, which I think would really help. So that's one thing that we're really hoping for and looking forward to is that, because that brings a lot of people kind of in one fell swoop.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Megan. So Aaron, what would you like from us merchants to help you with your job? Like, as far as like doing our own Facebook, or like, should we do a hashtag Visit St. John, or like what?
Yeah, no, that helps. You know, hashtag, or just you know, adding us on Facebook. You know, if you just type in Visit St. John, you should get like we should pop up, and you should be able to kind of like add us to the text so that people can link to us, and then that alerts me that you've posted something, and then I can blast that out and share it. But yeah, I would definitely, you know, I think, well, and the other thing is marketing has changed so much over the past 20 years. It's cheaper than ever to market and actually see some bang for your buck, but it's also harder for, because it's moved mostly digital as you age to like get into like learning a totally new skill, but it is, if you can learn how to boost your own post and market your business, and if you need any help with that, you can always call me and I can always set up a time to like show you how to do that. And that sort of stuff you can put, $2 a day on it and run it for a month, and you pay $60 and you've gotten your business out in front of a bunch of different people. And then also, what I'm also hoping is when I come to your shop or your Airbnb or whatever and I take photos, I will send them to you. Please use them in your marketing. You know what I mean? That will really help as well. But it's definitely. I'm here to get people to town. It's your job as a shop to get people in and to get them buying stuff. You know what I mean? So.
And I would think engaging with the social media posts is also helpful, right?
Absolutely.
So whether it's as simple as, liking the Instagram post or sharing the Instagram post or
commenting,
viewing the videos that are pushed out, because those views they stack up, and the more views they get, the more it pushes out to a wider audience. I mean, I think I try to interact with just about every single post that Visit St. John puts out, just to at least to try to help, boost the engagement of it and the reach of it, if possible. And I mean, those are little things, I think, low-hanging fruit that we could probably do.
Right, and like when we have an event like Oktoberfest this past couple weeks, get on there, create your own post, use your own photos and be like, hey, if you're coming down for Oktoberfest, it gives Oktoberfest a little boost, and lets people know, like, oh, there's other shops that'll be open, and there's more stuff that we can do when we get down there. So leveraging the event to bring people to your shop is a big one as well. So, and if you go to Visit St. John, either on our Facebook or our Instagram, every Monday we post a list of the events that are happening in town. So if you don't quite know what's happening this weekend, you can see a list and see what event you want to attach a post to, and try to just get into the habit of once a week, doing something like that, and spend $30 on an ad and show people what you have in your shop. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm really happy if you reach out to me and like, hey, I don't really know where the first thing about making an ad on Facebook or boosting a post on Instagram. I will come and sit with you and kind of walk you through it.
Is advertising with the surrounding counties, travel agents for like bus tours, because they've got a lot of connections for church groups and what have you. One kids groups wanting to take trips here and there. They might be able to help you get a bus tour to come in.
Sure, and I know before I was in my seat, I know Tricia Ersfeld from Perryville and Tana Lynn were really working on doing some cross promotion in Perryville, especially with bus tours and things like that. I just don't think it ever really got off the ground, and I don't know what reason. And I've talked to Trish many times since then, and she hasn't really opened that conversation up. Like, hey, we should really get that started again. So, and maybe it's worth the juice is worth the squeeze. But again, I'm hoping to stay kind of consistent with the marketing that we're doing and the kind of areas that we're going. We are going to expand a little bit, but yeah, I think the consistency is really what's going to pay off too.
And to tag along with the kids and then the tours with that part of church groups or whatever, when I do eventually have the pottery shop, there will be offers from, I want to do kids things and everything else. As far as if it's just a day project or whatever it is, I'll be willing to offer that. So down the road, we'll be continuing to be in touch and let everyone know about So I'm completely on board with, there's not a lot of things for younger kids to withhold, you know. Yeah, it's beautiful to walk around, but, you know, I was a little different when I was 8, 9 years old. That's why I ended up back here. And I appreciate it more than a lot of those younger kids would, even to this day. So going forward, there's not just me, but there needs to be more insight on what is there for the younger crowds, you know, as far as young kids, not just young adults and teenagers, and that matters.
Yeah, I mean, I think we offer a lot for young kids, to be honest, you know what I mean?
That is true. There's more than what I pay attention to and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure, no, we
Yeah.
have that, and I think it's a really great safe destination for families to bring their kids.
You're not wrong, yeah.
Yeah, you know, they don't have to like be constantly,
No.
you know,
Sure.
on high alert. Again,
Yeah.
it's like a great place for, you know, families to come and decompress, so.
That's being talked about though. I would tell you that, you know, I was in a committee meeting this morning and it was, you know, a recap of Oktoberfest. And it was brought up that, yeah, it wasn't enough for kids. And that was a fair criticism. And so it's been talked about, and I think there's, I mean, Jerdafet is doing a great job with their like entrepreneurial corner there, the kids entrepreneurial thing. I think that's really engaging. So I think we're taking steps in that direction. And I think, you know, with our festival, the one that I mentioned, just Oktoberfest, I just happened to sit on that committee. But, you know, that was a topic of conversation for next year. So I think it's becoming more top of mind, and I think there's a way to look at it as, you know, if you're gonna attract a family to Oktoberfest, could be great for mom and dad, may not be great for the kids.
Because everyone knows, you know, you come to St. Jimmy and enjoy a beer.
Yep.
You know, everybody knows that if they're gonna come visit our town. But as far as like, what are the teenagers gonna do, you know, and like, yes, we'll have those things for the kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But there's still that window where, how do I approach that? How would I tell you guys to approach that? I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
That's just me spitting, you know,
Yeah.
saying something.
Yeah, and it's a great point, and it's one that, yeah, it's definitely being talked about, I think, in a lot of those committees, and some of those festivals are really starting to take those steps to
Good.
try to cater to the younger audience.
Because I would come
Good
back
for
and
everybody.
visit throughout the years all the time, mainly for Jerdafet and other events. But there was always just, now I think about it, I always just, sometimes I notice something like that in that picture.
I feel like for festivals too, I mean, you can call the Felix Valley site, you can call the
Okay.
Museum Learning Center, you can call the library, and they will come out and do kids' activities for any event. And it sounds like you'll be adding to that, so,
Yes.
you know, I think we do, it's just, do we engage them
And
all the
every time
time?
I'm in town for an event, I'm like, man, I wish I had my wheel. I wish I had a second wheel, you know, where I could do that. I'm like a one-man show though, so it's hard for me to run a booth and do everything else. And I think everyone else can agree, if they're running a booth, it's kind of a full-time deal. You know, and we're fortunate enough to have Fox when he comes into town,
Yeah.
Fox Studio with his pottery, that he's able to kind of do that same thing there. But he has his wife and sometimes his kids, I've noticed too. So he's fortunate enough to have some help. And fortunate, you know, soonly I might be fortunate enough to have someone, just volunteers or whatnot to help along that line. But just along the line of all of that stuff, yeah.
Good point.
So you mentioned about responding to comments about that people make on social media and stuff. Is there an email that people, if they want to voice something privately, that's on the site?
For which one? For
A general email, not a go to your personal email or anything like that.
Well, like, I mean,
There's things that people might want to share that, not
for
for
tourism or for the city? Either?
for the website, for the tourism
Oh,
site.
yeah. You can go to tourism@stgenevieve.gov.
Okay, but if that's on the website,
I mean,
because I mean, if I want to voice something I liked or disliked, and I don't want it publicly known,
yeah,
for
sure.
some, because there's people like that.
I mean, you can also, like,
you're
you
gonna
can,
need
you know,
somewhere to go.
yeah, I mean, you know,
And
there's a
then,
couple,
then we can learn from that and do something better.
yeah, and there's a couple of avenues, you know, you can either send a direct message to the Facebook account with Visit St.
Well,
Genevieve.
some people don't do Facebook.
There's a contact us form at the bottom of the Visit St. Gen site.
Okay,
and that probably goes to that.
Yeah.
That inbox, yeah, tourism.
okay. I haven't learned enough. We got this.
And if you go to the Welcome Center, they have a business card with an
Okay.
email address.
Awesome.
All right, who's next?
Thank you, Steve.
I'm just scrolling back here, checking it out. I did want to ask though, the calendar is still being worked on. I've
Yeah,
noticed
so-
it's better.
Chris has been doing a lot of heavy lifting with Occasion Genius, and I think what Occasion Genius, so they, and I'm learning as we go. I got Occasion Genius through Visit Widget, and so I didn't know a lot about them, but I was like, hey, this is what I want. And they're like, okay, Occasion Genius can do that for you. So I've been working with them, and they work mostly with hotels. And so we're their very first like DMO sort of. Sorry to use that term.
I was gonna say,
We're the
that's
first-
jargon, can you?
Yeah, sorry, we're the first like tourism destination city that they're working with. And so they're still learning as well. And I think they listened to Chris and kind of saw what she needed and probably realized, oh, this is, I think, what everybody else wants. They just want things to be taken directly from what they're posting and for it to end up, but they work with, so like if they pull something directly from a post, like they have to filter it through like an AI system, because if they just take that, their lawyers are like, that's a copyright infringement. If you take that photo from that event, that's a copyright infringement. So basically they're gonna work up a form that, will just replace the submission form, the event submission form that we have on the events calendar page. And it'll have like a sort of indemnification clause where it's like, you give us rights to use the words verbatim and the images verbatim.
And so that'll take that AI portion out?
Yes, where it's like saying Oliver's will serve you lasagna, and you know what I mean, like that whole thing. So, yeah.
Are there other portions of the website or anything you're doing that are AI driven?
No.
Okay, I think it was quite obvious that the calendar had an AI component, and I do want to say thank you for getting rid of that, because I have concerns about that environmental impact in particular.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I think it just looked unauthentic.
Yeah, that's
So-
it. Yeah.
And thanks to you, I didn't know you were involved in that. It's much improved. And it's nice to see that it's St. Genevieve events. The out-of-county stuff is gone.
Yeah. So we're
It was very cluttered before. So.
Yeah, right. We're really working to pare that down, and again, it's just a work in progress. And I hate that things take like up to a month but it's like it is an ongoing conversation that we're having, and like they're not quite getting it, or they're busy on their end, I'm busy on my end, and things get lost in translation. So it's like you have to keep having these conversations for things to actually change in a way. But I think when they actually took time to talk with Chris, it really unlocked something for them. So so I think going forward, that's going to be a better partnership. And they were getting pressure from Visit Widget, so they're like, Visit Widget's like, you're making us look bad, and they're like, oh, okay, we better fix this. So that was the kick in the ass they needed. Sorry for live television. Hope they can bleep that one out.
I don't have a business, but from the tourism situation, I would just say, if I was looking, and maybe you already do this, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I was just thinking, if I was going to come here and I want to look on Monday and see what's open on Monday, just Monday, because I want to look at Tuesday and see what's open on Tuesday, what restaurants are open on each one of these days, not having to look at every specific business to see when they happen to be open. I mean, it would just really simplify it. Maybe this has already been suggested. It's just from my angle. I know what I would do.
Well, it's interesting because, I'm sorry, you haven't been able to talk much this time. We haven't really made this a tourism focus, but how would I say, it's really complicated to find ways to correctly display all the information we have, right? So when you are looking for different formats, there's only, first of all, especially when you're contracting like on the website, I can't build a website, and so I have to rely on these webmasters to build it, who are working on 30 other, 40 other, 50 other websites at a time. And so they're, unfortunately trying to do the swiftest thing. And believe me, I squeeze blood out of a turnip. Like, these people hear from me, I'm on them like, hey, I need this, like I'm pushing them. And just sometimes there's a limited format for this kind of information. So you've got to kind of work with that sort of thing. And again, you know, so like if we have the format where we have all the individual businesses listed, which works pretty good, and then we completely switch the format to where you see all of the, I don't know, it's just kind of a wall of text situation. We have so many businesses in town and in the county that we're also trying to promote so that we can get people to stay longer.
And they change hours, we just changed hours.
Yeah, right.
All the time.
And the other part is, you know, for that sort of thing, you know, we're giving people their own logins to the website. So if you wanted to control the Silver Sycamore page and be able to like change your own hours, you can do that. You know, we can set you up with a login, and a lot of people have done that. And it's been really helpful for me, first of all, but really helpful for the businesses because then they can get in, change the photos, and do that sort of stuff. So.
How do I learn how to do that?
Just send me an email. I'll get you in touch with the correct people. Have I tired you all out yet?
More. So if a business owner wants to submit updated information from changed venues for the next month, how soon do you need the data so it's updated?
I mean, yeah, send it to me as soon as possible. Even with your, well, then again, we've got to get in and take some photos of you know, your place.
No, I mean, whatever business. I mean,
Yeah,
Chris is always changing venues.
As soon as possible, you know, that's going to be the thing, you know.
So our cutoff time is there, I mean, in case somebody has a last minute change, and then that show doesn't happen, or the venue doesn't happen, you know.
Well, the shows, well, luckily, I mean, like
So Chris has, her performer can't make it, and she's got to change it, and wants it on that website to change the venue information for Music Art Love on the website.
Luckily for events, we have a plug-in. That's what I was talking about, Occasion Genius, and all of that stuff should be updated in real time.
But who's putting it in?
An AI bot. That is,
Okay, so the AI bot can do it last minute.
I mean, they should be able to. It
Okay,
should be
that's
kind of an
my question.
instantaneous thing, yeah. Because again, with all the events, I mean, we are a very event-driven community. If I had to manually put all of that information in, it just would never get anything done. Yeah. So I'm sorry, environment. You know, we use a little bit of AI to just, you know, again, it's about what we deliver on, and you know, I'm never trying to kick any cans down the road, and I don't want to put any wrong information out there. So I am working hard to update all of this stuff. So again, that we can convert. We need people to town. You know, I know that's an urgent sort of thing, but you know what I mean. And like I said, be a squeaky wheel. That's the only thing I can leave you with. Like I said, it takes me a long time to circle back, but if I hear this little wheel needs oil, you know, it closes the circle a little bit, because I'll get working on, you know, I'll get an email from you, I'm like, cool, I'll start on that, and then I'll get 3 more emails, or somebody will come to my office, and you know, you would think this is a really quiet town with not a lot of demands, but it is a very demanding position. So, not saying, you know, woe is me or anything like that, but just continue to engage with me. And like I said, I will get things done. You know, Janice had to send a couple of emails to me, but I got the message, and I was like, all right, let's do it. You know, so. Next, one for him. Surfing that one. All right.
Nothing else?
Okay, one more. So I just looked up like bakeries, pastry shops, so why, I don't see Cat's Pastries on there.
It is. It's under breakfast.
Oh, it's under breakfast, okay.
Yeah. I don't think we have bakeries. Do we have bakeries?
Well, they are also a bakery.
But we don't have a bakeries list on our website.
Okay.
Yeah, we
My
have.
apologies.
No, it's all good. We have breakfast, and I think I had them for lunch as well. So yeah, if you fit under that category, I've done the most work on the restaurants recently, to be honest, and a little bit on the shops. So. Everybody satisfied? so much.
There you go.
Oh, wait, here we go.
There it is.
One last question.
Yeah.
Missouri on Main Street. Is there, we're planning on a
The town hall.
public
Yeah.
similar to this, but only different, I would assume? Okay.
Yeah.
Are people in this room familiar with?
No, so if you don't know about Missouri Main Street, this is another seed that I've planted. And St. Genevieve's been a part of Missouri Main Street before. But it is an organization that focuses on revitalizing downtowns through economic development in the context of historic, oh man, all right. I almost had it. In the context of heritage sort of tradition. So it's a really good organization that fits perfectly with what St. Gen has. They've worked with St. Charles forever now, 40 years. They've worked with Washington, Missouri for 30 plus years. They're a great organization. We've partnered with them as a city, and kind of the next steps is we're going to be starting a new nonprofit. Exactly what this town needs is another organization, but this will be just a Missouri Main Street sort of satellite for here in St. Gen. And then they offer 2 years of consulting, sort of things that are going to come to our downtown, kind of look at the things that we don't think about, you know what I mean? They hire architects and landscape architects and try to figure out, some of the things like why, when people park at Audubon's, why don't they walk down Main Street and come visit the shops? What keeps them from, and is it a visual thing? Is it, what is stopping that? And then helps you kind of, through this coalition of all these different communities that work within Missouri Main Street and then work within Main Street America, their umbrella organization, which is a national organization. You have all these resources to help revitalize your downtown. So, whether that's providing tax incentives or other things to get investment in your downtown. Yeah.
Well, and they're going to tell us good, bad, or indifferent, what's working, what's not working, where we need to improve and how we need to do it. I think that was what I took away from most of my conversations initially was, they're going to lay out a blueprint for us based on what they observe. It's up to us to follow their lead with that. And I think sometimes that feedback can be a little scary because we're going to learn maybe that we have a few warts. But I think if we follow that playbook, we've seen how it's played out for communities like St. Charles, like Washington. They've seen a little bit of a resurgence in some economic development and of course tourism. When we think about St. Charles, they just had their Oktoberfest. That we avoid that weekend for that reason. That is a big deal. And I visited that Oktoberfest. It's a really good event. But this is part of what we're trying to seek out more information on what we can do to be better. Sometimes you need a third party to come in and say, hey, this just isn't working. Or, hey, we need to update this. And let's look at a plan. You said landscape. They're looking at the whole thing. So I think if we buy into that process, I think we could reap some rewards from it. Yeah. So like I said, it's good. We're going to learn a little bit about us from somebody else. They're going to tell us.
Well, and I think that's kind of the way you need it to be done, right? Because anybody from inside the community says, hey, we're doing this wrong. You go, shut up, I know you. You don't know anything. So when you get an organization that has some skins on the wall and they come in, hey, this really isn't working. And actually they're better suited because they've seen all these different things and then they come in and it's like they have a fresh set of eyes. Like when I was just a tourist here, I had a better sense of some things than I do now that I've been living here for almost 2 years. It's like things just kind of fade into the background and you kind of lose sight of some of the easy fixes or even just anything. You're in it. You can't see it. So having an outside organization come in and go, oh yeah, and they're going to be looking at retail mix too. You know what I mean? You guys should be trying to recruit these kind of businesses into your downtown, and it will help bolster all of your businesses, you know what I mean? It'll help just get feet on the street, and you'll have a better mix, and you'll meet more of the needs of your tourists, so.
So there isn't, you were saying that there is an open.
There's a town,
meeting like that.
yeah, so it's a town hall. They're gonna come in, the TTC will be there because the Tourism Tax Commission is the ones that entered into the agreement initially, and then the 501c3 per se Gen will take over for them. But they're gonna come in and do a town hall and basically ask, what do you guys wanna see? You know what I mean? Like, what, you know, here's what we can do. What do you guys wanna see here downtown? And we were looking at November 10th. I think they're gonna have to move that date. So it'll be sometime in mid-November, hopefully.
But we'll know that.
Yes, I'll be sending a big blast.
Okay. Thanks.
How much tax dollars is being spent on, not grants or anything, just tax dollars on tourism?
On tourism, total, so it's 380,000. That is the Welcome Center, that's managing the Welcome Center. That's
Sure.
So 170,000 of that is salaries for me and my 3 workers.
Okay.
125,000 of that is our big program grants, of which 50% of that is going to be given back to us through the state.
Yeah, that's the match.
Yeah. Other big bucket, I have 43,000 for tourism marketing, and then
Is that the Daniels?
no, so McDaniel's would be a part of that 125,000. 43,000 is just like kind of discretionary stuff. So I've been putting ads, like I have an ad in the Kansas City Chiefs yearbook, because Kansas City is going to be the home of the site of FIFA this coming year. So we're also doing other stuff in Kansas City. So I'm trying to kind of prime Kansas City with some of my stuff. I also put some national ads in like Taste Tour and Travel, and did one in the USA Today Midwest. So
We do the soccer park up in St. Louis.
that'd be a good one.
That would be a great one.
Yeah, and I think St. Louis is looking to host a team during FIFA. I don't know if they've got one. So and
French team would seem to make sense.
that would be awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and so, and then it goes all the way, you know, to copy paper, you know what I mean? So there's
I think the city's committed to giving Aaron the tools for his toolbox. I think we've tried a lot of things for years, and we didn't see a ton of results. And I think now we're starting to come around to the idea that maybe we didn't know everything, and there's other avenues we can pursue, right? You know, we're really getting into the data as to who's coming here. I mean, I think you talked about overnight visits, but you know, in your last report, I think you know, we found out that Dallas was for some reason we had an influx of visitors from Dallas area. That was a market that we never really considered would be one that we would tap into, or that would really need, that we would be on their radar. The data is very interesting to see who's coming and where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Will we ever get to a point where we learned enough about marketing, you know, we got the tools we need for your toolbox, we're not having to pay marketing consultants and all that? Will we ever get to that point where we know enough to so we can use that money for other things?
Well, no, because I think what happens is, you know what I mean, like I said, as a one-person department, there's only so much I can do. So like, I think some things will fall off, like maybe in 2027, I'll be able to, you know, kind of take McDaniel's place and run the MMG myself. So yes, some things, yes, but also I would like to use that money to do more, because, you know what I mean? And I think like this year, so this will be my second full fiscal year. So the first year, I think I saved $100,000 or over $100,000, because I just didn't spend it, because I was like, I need to see how this budget works. I'm not going to overspend anything. I'm not going to be flagrant with taxpayer dollars. This year, I'm getting a better feel, and then next year, it's like, okay, I'm going to take half of my marketing budget and I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna hire another firm that's gonna help us maximize this part that we're not doing, which is PR and user-generated content and stuff like that. So I'll be putting that towards that, and I've moved money into other baskets to be able to, you know, just canvas everything. And the state, like I said, gives us all kinds of, they've given us 2 big grants this year. One, they've given us $60,000 to do welcome and wayfinding signs. So all of the street signs, I'm gonna be putting posts at different parts of the street so we can hang banners and things like that. So, you know, at different parts that hopefully, again, will kind of, when you're looking down from Audubon to you going, should I take that walk all the way? I can kind of see, oh, is that the Oris? I don't know if I want to, you know, you'll have these things that kind of lead your eye and you go, yeah, there is something down there. Oh yeah, there's, so, you know, we've got some things where the branding is going to start coming into the physical downtown and, you know, opening things up as well. So that's one of the big ones, and they've given us $12,000 for social, search engine marketing, which is just another facet that we're able to kind of.
I think it's also important to point out I'll get to you, Linda, just real quick. The state of the tourism department when Aaron took over, it was kind of in flux for some time. We had an interim, we had a tourism director who was not here very long. Previous to that, we had an interim, and then we had a tourism director that was on leave for an extended period of time. So Aaron came in with a website that wasn't functional, it was broken in a lot of ways. He had a department that didn't really have a direction at that time. It was searching for one. You know, the bones of the McDaniels agreement and that marketing plan were being worked on, but it wasn't across the finish line yet. So, you know, when Aaron took the reins, there was a lot of backlog of things that hadn't been done in a long time. So I think it was fair to assume that a pretty heavy outlay of funds was going to need to be thrown at a number of different projects immediately, with the idea that, you know, at some point, with a director at the helm who has a clear vision and a direction, could then probably, after a period of time, like he mentioned, kind of take on more of some of those roles. And you wouldn't expect to see, I mean, the website is not something we have to redo every year, right?
No.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's an ongoing, it's a living thing, it's going to be evolving over time. But we don't have to do the major overhaul. I mean, when you went to the tourism website before, there may have been like 2 links that worked there. You went to history, it basically gave you this page is not available or whatever.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things that just needed to be.
And if you searched online for French Heritage Festival, you might have got the 2022 version of that festival, and you're like really in the weeds, like, okay, is this even happening again? So, you know, hopefully that stuff is going away. And another thing that I'll say too, which is interesting. So we've hired McDaniels. They did a marketing plan, and I commend the Board of Aldermen for hiring them, because, you know, what if I didn't work out? What if I, you know, stayed here for a year and I was like, I don't like this place, and I leave, and then you need this consistency so people can walk into a plan and carry that forward. And I've just redone that with the branding. Not that I plan to leave, but God forbid something happened, people could. No, I'm just saying. You know, you want to have these things that are like, what, you know, you're setting this department up for 30 years of growth, and so like the branding is even one of those things where it's like you've codified this thing, and it's a big step. But what else I'm trying to say is I also commend the Board of Aldermen for keeping my position, because McDaniels, you know, like any marketing company, you know, when they make their marketing plan, it's kind of self-serving, right? Like, hey, you guys should do this. Guess what we do? We do that. Oh, we should do this. Well, guess what? We do that too. How about that? Here too, you know, and you're just continuing to, you know, outlay that money. But with a tourism director, I'm learning, you know, and I'm seeking the organizations to work with that I'm going to learn the most from. So that, again, I may hire more firms or take certain things away, but I'm learning how to do a lot of stuff in-house so that we're maximizing that dollar. because I don't see any other way to kind of make it, you know, you have people, St. Louis is spending millions of dollars on their tourism per year, and we've got $90,000, you know what I mean? Let's go with $90,000 and we're trying to compete with all these different places. So, no, I am very engaged and I'm learning as I go, but also keeping us from spending too much money too, you know what I mean? Like having someone like Neve in-house that can take the photos that she can take and really make our destination look like what it's looking like. We're getting this, and she's very passionate about, doing that work. And so, we're really maximizing that dollar. McDaniel's, I think, for a one-day shoot charge is like $5,000 to come out. And it's like, that's not tenable. You know what I mean? That's not going to work, So yeah, again, praise to the Board of Aldermen for keeping this position because yes, would I like to spend more money on tourism? Absolutely, but I am also spreading that dollar as far as it can go.
Okay, I think that downtown St. John is really beautiful. Since we've got the streets, I think that was just wonderful doing that. I like that the flowers around and just looks very nice when tourists come in. However, there's just one thing in front of the DeBerg Center where the flags are. Can you guys do anything about that? Because the flags are all torn, or they have 3 of the same one. It's just, can you
I think that's probably a work order.
Yes, well, okay, so that was brought up to me probably in February. We did, it's noticed, it's clearly noticeable. It is up to the organizations to get us a new flag. Those organizations, to my knowledge, were all notified at that time that I brought it to our city administrator's attention. And I know that, I can speak to the organizations that I know that I'm a part of, like Rotary was, I took that to the Rotary Club and said, hey, can we get a new flag for the Island of Flags? And I assume, I don't recall if the Rotary one was updated, but so we knew the ones that, I knew that one, they were notified because I personally notified the Rotary Club, but it was my understanding that the organizations that had flags currently up there that were in the state that they're in, that we need to get a new flag. So at some point, we're going to have to get those from those organizations.
Get a deadline for them?
I mean, we could, and the ones that are multiple are placeholders, where a flag got to a point where it was either removed for the condition.
Yeah, right. So we've got 18 St. Genevieve flags.
I mean, I think at some point though, it's either going to turn into, okay, if we're not going to get the flags, then we're just going to have to find a different solution, to put up there.
Maybe have a bring 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying, about 5.
Well, I believe the Rotary Club was going to consider ordering multiple flags, just because, well, one, it was easier to order, I think, to order 2 or 3 or 5 at one time, but no, it's noticed, and we're trying to remedy that situation. So.
Squeaky wheel again, it's like, it's one of those things, because, you just think about the chain of communication that has to go on, right? It's like, comes to me or Brian, we have to tell Happy, who is now David. David then has to reach out to those organizations. Those organizations forget, you gotta get back in touch with them. Or, get back in touch with me to get in touch with David to get in touch with. So
sounds like a follow-up to me.
Yeah, just a follow-up, yeah, exactly.
That's pretty, Brian, I hate to drag this out.
No, we're here.
But I live at 4th and Roberts. There's a bridge at Leahy. Okay, it's been hit by Beelman years ago. Sam Beelman had no problem paying for it. So how come it's taking so long to fix that, number one? Number two, and I talked to the truck drivers that go through there. And I've talked to Happy about this, I've talked to Dave Bova about this. If someone goes on Google Maps, it's free, goes on Google Maps and says, look, this is there's a truck route, this is a restricted route. If you're going out of town towards Industrial River Road on 4th Street. You go left, you go down to 61. Okay, we got trucks turning around, tearing our stuff up. And a sign is cheap. How can we get a sign that says, look, truck route straight, an arrow? Or with a thing, left turn on Industrial River Road, it'll take them right back to 61, and it's not gonna tear our town up anymore, because I took pictures of the underside of the bridge by City Hall when I moved here 5 years ago, and one by my house. And you can see so much rebar and missing concrete. I even did a water test. I took a cup, set it on the bridge, and it was just a tow truck that went over it. And it looked like a scene from Jurassic Park. There was so much vibration going through that concrete. And I'm just, because if that one of those bridges goes, then we're going to have the EPA down here, and it's just going to be a mess. All because we can just put a sign up. Slow down, 10, 15 miles an hour. If you're a truck, keep going straight and get out of town.
Yeah, we've had a few wayfinding issues with truck traffic. Just in the last few years, there was an area on Blaine Street where trucks were trying to get to the Buckeyes facility. That we eventually had to you actually have to work through Google Maps in a way to get them to update that route so that would not show as a viable route or the fastest route.
Well, it's notated. They say, hey, trucks,
Yeah, and that's stuff that we were learning as we went, obviously.
Well, I've been talking about it for 5 years. But anyway.
Well, some of that. The Blaine one was a new one. I'm just throwing that out there as one that, we eventually resolved. That bridge on 4th and Leahy was struck again earlier this year, I want to say.
I think about 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago.
Oh, was it that one? Well,
They made a right
I think it got struck again.
Okay, well, maybe it struck again. But did it have to? If we had a sign there, that guy would have kept going straight, went safely on a good road, truck route, and went north or south on 61. And our bridge wouldn't be in more disrepair. For the cost of a sign, I've talked to aldermen about this, and they say, well, that's a federal thing. And I'm like, no, that bridge is part of our town. That sign is not going to violate any federal law to, protect our bridges.
Well,
and $25.
Well, it's protecting our streets too. I'm a little protective of the streets now, obviously. But there's been a lot of conversation over the last couple of years about truck traffic on the streets.
Yeah.
Because we knew that if we were going to undertake this massive project, that we wanted longevity out of it, obviously.
Yeah.
So, the board's kicked around a number of ideas now as it relates to like designated truck route, like you're mentioning, or making it, notated that this is not a truck route. That's something I can ask about.
It's an easy fix.
Well, I agree. The more recent truck that hit there, I don't know why they were there, because it was local, so I'm confused as to why they ended up there. And it was like either late at night or early in the morning. Like it was, and we were lucky that somebody saw it and alerted City Hall that they knew what happened there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known anything about it. It would have just been damaged and we had no idea.
Because they go over curves, they bump stop signs, they gotta straighten those out.
Yeah.
And it's like, this town is really set up for 48-foot trailers or a pup trailer and a day cab.
Yeah.
That's what this town is set up for, not 53-foot trailers with a long-nose Peterbilt. We're not set up for that. And I drove trucks, I know.
Yeah, there's been some talk about limiting, the types of trucks that can traverse within the city.
Yeah, so a pup trailer can service 2 restaurants, the school,
Yeah, so there's a lot of discussion there. As it pertains to the bridge on 4th Street by City Hall, it's been delayed a couple of times.
Bad.
But that's slated to start. The county is taking on that project through Special Road, and they have a grant.
Great.
So you should see that. I'm wondering, and I would have to follow up on this because we did discuss that with the county earlier this year, that they may be starting that project in 2026. That bridge is going to look very, very different. The footprint of that entire bridge will be very different. And that is what is currently being engineered, is the width and then the span. The span is probably gonna be longer than we originally thought, as far as that goes. So they're in discussions right now. The city is gonna assist with that project in some capacity. We're just not spearheading it. Because Special Road put in that bridge. So they're proud of the bridge, it's their bridge.
It's their bridge, but we can put a sign on either side of it.
Yeah, and I think, I disagree. But that bridge, I mean, heck, I don't drive a truck, but my car is in the shop, so I've been borrowing my dad's truck, it's large. You have to pretty well, you have to stake a claim on that bridge and go with it, right? Because there's just not a lot of room there. So that's slated for improvement. As to the 4th and Lehigh one, I know there was an insurance claim that was being worked through at that point to get the insurer of that particular fleet, the truck fleet, to then pay for the damage that was done to the bridge. But now it's determining how much does that, how expansive is that repair going to need to be? Like what needs to be done? So it's going to open up probably for.
But I'm told that we only use one certain contractor when it comes to bridge repair. I don't know who it is. I can't remember her name, it was a while back we talked to her. And they are backlogs of like years. I can't remember the name. It's not Bauman, it's not any of the local people. But because they're structural engineers, and I mean, they're like, all they do is bridges. And that's what's taking so long.
Gotcha. Well, I know the county was hoping to have that done at least 2 years ago, but it's been delayed for a while. But it's coming.
Well, that's good.
And then we'll have a different issue at that time, which diverting traffic where it needs to be diverted. Don't want to. Everybody just thinking about it, but we'll figure that out.
Maybe we'll order those signs.
One thing when I asked about, and I think this was brought up last year, with the warrant or whatever, is the decorating of town for Christmas. Holy doodle. It was, I mean, I think all of the businesses let in, but last year, Christmas, we drove around and you would think it was the city of the Grinch. I mean, I would talk and try to get it, but, you know, we used to have like one of the poles where there was beautiful decorations and the light poles. It's nice of the little, but it just doesn't get it. And so I don't know the process, Brian, or how this can be done, and it's been talked about, and then they say there's certain loopholes or certain, but holy moly, we need this town decorated for Christmas.
I agree with that. Because growing up, it was, I just remember everything lit up, and then now.
I mean,
yeah.
When you talk about like with St. Charles, and they have the TV ads on, and everything's decorated, and people are walking around, and it's just like, and we look down and it's like.
Yeah.
Like one of those great Hallmark movies, right?
Yeah, it was. And that's what we can be. I don't know, but Lordy Moses, we need, I'm sorry for all that.
No, you're 100%.
We need that so badly, and whoever is preventing and whatever, it's just like, dude.
Well, I
we
mean,
need to wake up.
the short answer is citizens. They will not allow anything on their poles. So
Why did they used to?
Well,
And now they
that's
don't.
Well, it's become a library.
yeah, they changed their stance, and the difference between us and a community like Perryville is that they actually own those poles. Those aren't citizens.
Really?
Yeah.
So they pay the lights in those poles?
They can put up lights on those.
No, I mean, they pay for the lights being on in those poles?
Yes, they'll pay for the, whatever.
No, I mean the actual lights in the light poles that are.
Oh, we're talking about like utility poles, or are we talking about lights?
The wood poles that are on our streets, or the metal poles that have the antique lighting on them.
Okay, no, those are ours.
Let's decorate those.
Citizens, but I think, I was thinking you were talking about like telephone poles.
No.
Well,
that's
just
where
the
the other
big holes
communities
that
have.
they used 2 years ago, so you said they've changed their policies on that, which is a dirty rotten shame. But how do you get that? And so, because that was in the, because like you go to Perryville and it's all lit up and it has all these poles, so that's, Perryville did that then.
Perryville's somehow, yeah, those are, Citizens does not own those utility poles. Now, we're making increments. I mean, I think we did red and green lights within the street lights last year, which was a step in the right direction.
Can I say one thing about that? You did the red and the green ones down on Main Street, and it made it less light. If there would be a way, if you do that again, that those could be a little brighter. It's more difficult to see.
Well,
Just, I mean.
That's a
we
picture.
could, I don't know. I don't know what more we can do, as far as that.
Right.
And I don't know if putting them on like the actual light, like decorations on the light poles might be too low to the ground. I mean, we could raft them.
Well, I guess I was thinking of why are not, and I do remember that it says something about Citizens is preventing them. Is there any way to get them to? I could
we've
say
had
so, but it's like, for heaven's sakes, why would they not do that?
We've had some conversations with Citizens about trying to clean up a few things in the downtown area that we weren't, that we wanted to change, just for aesthetic more than anything, not for operational, but just for aesthetic. They'll always listen to us. Now, whether that turns into action on their part is hard to say. If you wanted to put pressure on Citizens, and we have some thoughts here that we're working on in back channels, but
Okay, good.
I know a few of the Citizens board members very well. They've heard me talk about it on a number of occasions. One of them is Tom Kime. I don't know if you know him. I know him fairly well. I'm not saying you need to inundate his inbox, but I think that there are some creative ways that maybe we haven't thought of previously in working with Citizens on maybe seeing if there's some options for us to utilize those to try. I agree. I don't disagree. I drive through every community. last year I drove through Cairo, Illinois during the holiday season. And
we're worse than Cairo.
Well, they had decorations on every utility pole going through their main drive.
I mean, let alone just like Merchant Main, Market and Third, just like that big loop and then up to Fourth.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
in front of Guild. I just remember last year was the first time I came through for Christmas, and I was like, what happened to all the lights? I mean,
it did feel like it was overnight, and in most ways it's because it was. They more or less changed, and I don't know if that was a new attorney looking at it and saying, hey, we're not doing that anymore. I don't know if it's a company policy, but it did feel like one year it was fine, and then the next year it wasn't. So, and I mean, that happened several years ago, I think, when that ultimately changed. I think it was prior to me taking office, but because, I mean, we talked about it even prior, to that point, that, hey, what happened? I remember it. And somebody once told me, they're like, you don't know that. And I said, no. I remember this. I know we had decorations up. So, and I think, there are certain aldermen that are really working on that too. I mean, I know Alderman Fahey has been very vocal about the need to try to do a little bit more, just with little things. It's cleaning up the little things. It's planting new trees in the islands in the sidewalk where there are supposed to be trees or where there are dead trees.
That was going to be another question. Are you still working on that? Because there was supposed to be someone who was.
There's money in the budget that was just passed for trees for the downtown, and they did a lot of research on these trees to determine how they would grow so that they wouldn't interfere with, as far as the visibility of people seeing the businesses, and also that they wouldn't grow beyond the point that they would become difficult to manage, and also that the root structure goes down as opposed to horizontal, which was a big problem there for a while, ruining all the sidewalks. So there's been a lot of attention paid to that decision, and that money's allocated, it's there, it's ready to go. go. So you should see some new trees.
Yeehaw.
And I know that Alderman Fahey has been very vocal about trying to beef up our holiday spirit. How about that? Is that that's a good way to put it, I think. But no, I agree 100%. And we are working on some creative ideas that we're going to throw at citizens to say, hey, what if we did this? And just see if there's maybe they would be agreeable to, or well, I'm sure it's a legal thing, but if their attorneys would be agreeable to some of that, so.
What kind of legal thing?
I-
I.e., for example.
Well, it's removing their liability from it, I think is what it's.
Okay. The LED lights hold no amperage, they're not a fire hazard.
Yeah, and I don't think it has anything to do with the usage of it or anything like that. I think for them it's a liability from a,
Installation.
fire, I think is what they've cited in the past.
I've never seen an LED light catch on fire.
Me neither, and maybe it happened somewhere else, and that's what came down, to their legal department that said, hey, this happened and we don't know where, Iowa, and now everybody's.
Well, I'm really happy to know that it's being talked about. And with the trees, I heard several months ago that was worked on, that the money was there, and what had happened to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
I'm glad to know
in
that
the
that's
budget.
being talked about.
It's
Trees are one of those things you got to plant at the right time
Yeah.
too. You know what I mean? So there's that as
Oh, yeah,
well.
sure.
Well, and they got, they, like I said, they didn't take that decision lightly. They went and tried to find exactly the right type of tree that would, one, look great, but also grow in a way that is not gonna prohibit people from walking or viewing the businesses or anything else.
Yeah.
And that may be
The root structure was the big deal.
a happy Welsh legacy, because I know he was working with the Department of Conservation and the Botanical Gardens in St. Louis to find those trees.
And they told me the type of tree at the last meeting, and I cannot for the life of me remember it. So, can't remember.
I noticed some
Maybe it'll
spots
come.
being cleaned up more, and then there's one that's just a pole hanging there. I thought, well, maybe we could like hang a bird feeder on it or.
Oh, well.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah.
No, but I'm glad to know that
Well,
that is being worked on.
And some of this, it's doing the little things right. I think sometimes, we don't have a robust budget, and, Aaron talked about that as doing the little. Some of these things I don't say they're little things, it's not to diminish them, but little things in the scope of, they don't cost a ton of money, they don't take a ton of manpower, and those little changes have big impacts, because
Exactly.
that we've been preaching that, in City Hall for, at least during my tenure there, is, hey, let's just do the little things right. Let's control what we can control, but do the little things that we're trying. And unfortunately, the little things tend to stack up. If some of that stuff feels like it was maybe on the back burner-ish, timing-wise, one, it was allocating for the budget, two, and then there's also just a lot of work going on around town that kind of prohibited us from getting in there and doing some of those other things, just between street projects and things of that nature, that it was a rough summer in the downtown area, because all those streets more or less got addressed in some capacity.
And then had problems on top of that in Public Works. And Public Works Alliance is who we rely on for a lot of this stuff, for the tree planting, and even, if we were gonna put up decorations in town, it'd be our Public Works department, and there are only so many guys as well. And I will say they are tenacious, and they've done a great job of anything we ask them of. And just another thing, we had a grant for wayfinding signs, so all the corner wayfinding signs in town, they're going to be replaced. But again, as far as I have all the physical signs in my possession, but we need to take those posts down. We're gonna spray them black, put them, and that just takes time. And again, it's doing the things the right way. It's like finding the right tree to put in the right spot. It's like we could just take everything off the poles and put it up lickety split, but it's just not gonna. It's not going to be
No,
right.
I'm just glad to know, because I had heard about it quite a few months ago, but just to know it's still in the works and working on it, I'm happy.
It very much is, and I hope we have a better like I said, I hope that our holiday spirit is on display here this holiday season, because it does add something to it, and I know that, gosh, Annette Rolfe would love it for her Christmas festival, right, and the Christmas parade, you know, those things that, I mean,
Just
that's,
the whole, I mean, just that whole thing, that brings people in, and just for us who live here, it's a happy, feel-good time, it's comforting, and for those who need comfort, it's a joyous time, and it, like I said, it totally looks like Grinch's.
but it's so important, because, you know, if we're talking about, like, let's think about the way that Aaron approaches our social media marketing, and he talked about, you know, the photos and the videos, and that's high quality. I mean, it's really, and we're very much in like, I didn't want to use this term, but I'm going to use it. It's like an influencer era, right? Like the shiny, pretty things are always on display. Like that's when you're scrolling your feed, you're seeing all that. Like those things, that's what people are looking for when they're, oh my, it pops, like whatever it may be, right? So,
I mean, it's important. We're missing a huge,
photo opportunities, and gosh, you get a good snowfall around that time, and you get, I mean, you're looking at your chops, aren't you?
I really like when it snows on the buildings.
But that's the era that we're in. They want to see that, you know, when they're scrolling through their feed, and if that engages with something, grabs their attention, that's what we're looking for.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you guys. I hope it helps. I hope it was informative. Appreciate you all spending your Wednesday night with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hope we didn't bore you, right? And come to trivia on October 22nd.
That's right.
Right here.
Posted.
Thanks for doing this, guys.
Yeah, thanks.